It's an absolute pleasure being here. Thank you for the very nice introduction. Shri Indramani Tripathi ji, Shri Kripa Shankar ji, Shri Mukesh Kumar Singh ji, Chandan ji. First of all, I'd like to thank ELETS for inviting me to speak at this conference. It's indeed always a pleasure to be back here at Lucknow, which I consider a second home, even though I live in Delhi. I'm especially pleased to be talking on this theme, Uttar Pradesh, a leader in Indian school education landscape. I myself am born in Uttar Pradesh, in Kanpur. Both my parents lived most of their lives in Kanpur, and at a very young age, we moved to Delhi. But for us at Jaipuria, Uttar Pradesh has always been the sort of Karam Bhumi of doing work in education. I'm very proud that today with Jaipuria across school education and the higher education spectrum, about 15 to 16,000 students are associated with us presently in the state of Uttar Pradesh out of an overall strength of about 20,000 students across India. So for us, Uttar Pradesh really is the place where we have done the most amount of work and where we see the most potential going forward as well. Now, we all know that Uttar Pradesh is the largest state in India. And for India to succeed as a school education cluster, it's absolutely essential that Uttar Pradesh becomes a leader in school education. Today, we still see a large demand supply gap in quality school education, and especially the availability of quality schools outside of metropolitan cities, outside of few big cities like Lucknow, Kanpur, Varanasi, Allahabad. And we see that really for us as the people of Uttar Pradesh to be called a leader in school education, quality education has to permeate down to much smaller cities and towns. Today in Uttar Pradesh, there are about 70 plus cities with a population of more than 1 lakh. And I really believe that for private education players, these should be the target markets. If they can provide quality education at a price that is affordable in these markets, then they would be doing a greater service to society, to the students. At Jaipuria, we worked hard over the last 5 or 6 years, and today I'm very proud to say that we are present in almost 16 cities across the state of Uttar Pradesh, which moves beyond the traditional bigger cities of Lucknow, Kanpur, Varanasi, etc. Just to give you, the stats that make this all possible, I think what we've done is not something that others can't do and others shouldn't do. There's space for everybody to grow within this market. Today, across the country, we have a school-going population of about 27-28 crore students who are already enrolled in school. I assume that in Uttar Pradesh, this population would be about 4 to 5 crores. Even if I assume that by various estimates, 30 to 60% of India is middle class, depending on what you define as middle class. So almost there's a potential of 2 crore middle class students who are already going to school in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Against these 2 crore students who are already enrolled in school, if you take the quantity of national board or very few international board also, the quantity of national board schools in UP, I just checked the CBSE website yesterday, there were about 2,000 CBSE schools, and I would say in general about 10% more ICSE schools. So only about 2,200 schools are there to cater to a middle class school going population of about 2 crores, which makes it 10,000 students per school. Of course, we know that the average enrollment in a school may not be even 1,000. So actually, if you take the state as a whole, we are not being able as national level or national board private schools to even serve 10% of the middle class population. That's why I say that, even though we're in opening schools, we need to create a bigger cluster. More people need to be doing what we are doing in terms of opening schools in smaller cities. That's the way to create an ecosystem whereby quality education moves to smaller cities and the opportunities that are available for students of Delhi, Lucknow, Kanpur are available to smaller cities, whether it's Barabanki or Banda or Balia or across all districts of UP. And the market exists for each of us to be able to do this. I know most of the people in the audience are school leaders, are school principals, school directors. And that's why I feel it's even more important for me to say this, because eventually it's people like you who have to make either the investment decision of investing in a smaller city, or actually become the principal of schools in smaller cities and be able to bring about change that you are bringing in the larger cities. So that's about creating the infrastructure and trying to meet the demand-supply gap by creating more supply. The second thing is, what are we doing once we have the school, we have the student inside the school? What really are we doing different, or how are we providing quality within the framework of the school that we have? It's not enough that we build these schools, we build nice infrastructure, and the teacher is the same, the student is the same as what has been in a previous school, which we considered low quality when we went in. And only the board changes, or only the name of the school changes to a national brand. So we have to be conscious as what change are we bringing inside the school, inside the classroom, so that the student actually sees a benefit of being part of a higher quality school. For me, what we are trying to do at Jaipuria, and what I profess, is that the biggest change that we need to bring is the way that we are transacting the curriculum. Largely in India, traditionally, and especially in smaller cities, our curriculum has been delivered by teachers to students based on the lecture methodology. For preparing students for the 21st century, where the knowledge that they require is changing so frequently, we believe that it's most important to make the students participate and learn, be self-driven in their learning from a very young age. Because whatever you teach them today may or may not be relevant 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. We're living in a world where the teacher themselves may not have the knowledge that the student needs when the student eventually goes into the job market 15, 20 years from now. I say quite proudly that I can't even imagine the jobs or the industries that our students of today would be working in. So the world where the teacher was the king of knowledge is gone. That doesn't demean the teacher, or that doesn't make him or her less important by any stretch of imagination. Rather, the teacher now has to teach a much more important skill. How can the student be a lifelong learner? And for that, the pedagogy in which that has to be used in the school has to be completely transformed. It has to be more student-led. We have to invest more in curriculum development, how we're going to teach the same topic differently in a classroom. We have to invest more in teacher training and retraining, and continuously invest in that. Because if you are going to be able to produce quality students, it's only going to happen through quality teachers and through quality instructional material. So today we are coming to a place where infrastructure, more or less, will be taken for granted in a good school. But what you do next with that infrastructure, do you also invest in the soft infrastructure of curriculum? Do you also invest in training teachers? Do you value your teachers? Is going to be what differentiates schools, excellent schools from good schools, and good schools from average schools. The last thing I want to talk about is, eventually, it's not only about teaching skills. This person has to live in a society that we are teaching today, and they have to be productive members of that society. So it's very important to teach our historical context, our culture. I'm very proud that at Jaipuria, one of the ways that we do it is by integrating the Indian context as well as the city context in our lesson plans across subjects. So it's very important that we are able to teach our culture and our context, so that when the student, he or she may go abroad now for higher studies, may live in different contexts, that they have strong roots and strong ties to their culture, their community, and their country. So I thank you all for listening to me, and I hope that all of you will participate in making UP a true leader in school education. Thank you. Jai Hind.